Good morning, everybody. I hope you're doing well. It's your guy, DeMarcus Tunstall with the Beta Project. And you can always find us on YouTube at Humble and Focus. Today is September 26th, and today's video is experimentation. And today's quote is going to start off with my boy Albert Einstein. And it says, insanity, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. And that's how we will start our day today. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm bringing you on. How are you doing? I hope you're doing well. This is going to be a pretty interesting one. Today we're talking about the experimentation. And I want you to think about it. I'm going to go back to this quote. Let me explain it a little bit more. Insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. That is very true. But ladies and gentlemen, it's a necessity to do things over and over again. The problem is the average person is living a life where they're doing everything over again and thinking there's something different. Your life is full of experimentation and you don't even realize it. Every time you get up and go to work, you take the same route. You drink the same coffee because it tastes good. You eat the same foods, the same type of foods. You eat it about the same time. You do all these things, and what has come of that is your life. All the things that you have done have created your life as you know it. And a lot of people, y'all don't have goals enough to kind of step outside of your comfort zone. You do things exactly the same way every single day. Now, what does that create? That creates routine and mediocrity. That creates what you have and nothing more. So, you know, he talks about insanity, so your life is insane. When you get up and do the exact same thing every single day, you don't change anything, you're not going to get a different result. Most of you aren't even looking for results because you don't realize that your life, your everyday routine is an experiment. You think of experiments as something that you have to do with deliberate intent to create something, but in all reality, aren't you getting up deliberately? Aren't you getting dressed in those clothes deliberately? Aren't you getting your car and driving to work on this particular route deliberately? Aren't you walking in the doors at the right time deliberately? Aren't you doing your job deliberately? So yeah, you're doing a whole bunch of experimentation. Because imagine if you did something different in all of that. You get a different result. You leave later, you may not make it to work on time, and something's going to change. But if you keep wanting the same result, which is, I don't like my job, but guess what? You're experimenting in the same way every single time. Guess what? You're not going to change it. But if you say, I don't like my job, but then you change something, you're going to get a different result. It's not going to be the same, right? So, Albert Einstein, insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results, right? So let's go to this one, but let's go to this quote here from Albert Einstein. No amount of experimentation can ever prove me right. A single experiment can prove me wrong. So Einstein understood that insanity, same thing over and over again, is gonna get you the same result. And he said, if you think anything different, you're crazy. But he says also at the same time, a single experiment can prove me wrong. Why is that? Why do I believe that why am I using this one? Because in this, what I'm feeling and what I'm seeing is that he understands that experiments can prove you wrong. If you do them one time and you get a result that you don't want, it can stop you in your tracks. So, you know, a lot of people know that, you know, I've had my fair share of dating issues, but, you know, in that dating issues, if I let this particular one be here and I said a single experiment can prove me wrong, meaning I found the wrong woman one time, then all of a sudden now all women are like that one woman and there's no way for me to find it. Because the experiment was to find this one woman, but every woman I find will, under this experiment, if I don't change the parameters of my experiment, and I'm not saying women, you're an experiment, but what I'm saying is that if I don't change the parameters of the way I'm doing things, then I will continuously get the same type of woman. You don't think that's the same with your job? You don't think that's the same with your money? You're not getting enough money for your life. If you keep doing the same thing, meaning getting another job, you're just going to have more money, but you're going to have less time since you can't create anything. The average person is unsuccessful in their money because of the fact that they won't change anything. The only thing they understand is a job. So if they only understand a job, they can only do job things. Now, I'm not saying don't work, because there's a difference between a job and not working, but the thing is, wealth is not created off the back of the people who work hard. It's the people who get to work. Like, as an employee, you're one of many, right? You're one of many, but it's the hand that benefits. I can't pick up a lot here, or I can't pick up a lot here. I can't pick up a lot here as a finger. I can only pick up so much as a finger. I can pick up so much as a finger, but as a unit, I don't have anything big enough to pick up, but as a unit, I can grab all of it. So it's the fist that benefits from the work of the fingers. So you're the work of the finger. You're the finger that you're going to work every single day you're doing your job and you're thinking, oh, I deserve a raise. Why? You haven't done anything other than your job. As this one finger, you will get paid what this one finger is worth. So the average person is not stepping outside of themselves to realize how much they're actually worth, but instead they expect somebody to pay them for their time, because that's what you've been taught. You know nothing different, and you have not stepped outside of your experimentation yet. No amount of experimentation can prove you right. It's not about proving you right, ladies and gentlemen. It's about one can prove you wrong if you're not testing over and over again, changing the experiment. The whole idea of experimentation is to change and look. Why? How do I know? Because of our guy. I got a quote. You know where I'm going. Magic Thinking Big. We're close to being done, ladies and gentlemen. I was going to finish it tonight, but then I read something. I was like, I got to go on and do a video of that tomorrow. So, we're talking about pure persistence and how it is enough. And it says we must have persistence, but only persistence is one of the ingredients of victory. We can try and try and try and try again and still fail unless we combine persistence with experimentation, meaning keep going over and over again, but also experiment and change the outcome. If I keep going over and over again, I'm gonna get the same results. Same ball, same wall, same angle, same force, same intensity. It's gonna get to the same results, it's gonna bounce in the same place. You take that ball and you fling it real hard, it's going somewhere else. Or real light, it's not gonna hit in the same spot, okay? Edison conducted experiments, and I highlighted this because it's so big, because he made persistence pay off by blending with experimentation. Edison conducted experiments, ladies and gentlemen. And when I read that, I don't know why it hit my soul and my heart so much, but you know, we go through life and we're doing the same thing, and we're talking about this insanity thing like Albert Einstein said, insanity is doing the same thing over and over again. But Edison did the same thing over and over again, but he changed a little bit of it every single time to get to his end result. See, imagine how different it would have been if Albert Einstein said, okay, let's combine this, 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 and this. Okay, it didn't work. All right, let's combine the same ingredients. Didn't work. Okay, same amount of ingredients. Didn't work. And he changed nothing. He would have never discovered what he discovered. But it's in the change of the experiment consistently, becoming a better person. Because as you are an experiment, as you are a scientist and you're experimenting, ladies and gentlemen, as the experiment goes and changes, you gain knowledge. And you are not the same scientist doing the same experiment once you get that result, because you know it doesn't work. You might test it again, that's fine, but you know this particular doesn't work. So as a scientist and you're experimenting, you gotta change the algorithm. You gotta change the formula. You gotta change the experimentation just a little bit. So Edison, my boy, I got some Edison quotes looking on the floor. You put you on the ground, kick you in the butt a little bit, right? Here we go. 1, I have not failed. Ladies and gentlemen, how many times have you thought you failed in life because you can't get what you want? Ladies and gentlemen, you have not failed. You just found 10,000 ways that won't work. Your life is full of experimentation, and yeah, you're doing it on a constant basis, even though you don't consider it to be experimentation. Your life is experimentation. Every job you drink, every food you eat. Imagine eating ho-ho cakes for a year. Over and over again, that's all you eat. What would your body look like compared to if you ate fruits and vegetables? Because it's an experiment. Your body is going to react to the formula that you put into it. So Edison said he did not fail. He just found 10,000 ways that won't work. Just like you have found 10,000 ways that won't work. But you won't change your experiment because you're comfortable. If Edison would have been comfortable with the fact that he found maybe a way to make something little, like maybe he made, I think he said one point in time, he made explosions or explosives. He said, oh, found a way to make that. Okay, I'm done. But the difference is Edison had a goal, a clear set goal of what he was trying to do. Ladies and gentlemen, Edison knew exactly what he wanted to do and what he wanted to build. So when he didn't get there, he might have found some kind of TNT combination, but he didn't stop there. A goal is an objective, a purpose. A goal is more than a dream. It's a dream being acted upon. That's what a goal is, a dream being acted upon. A goal is more than hazy. Oh, I wish I could. A goal is clear. That's what I'm working towards. He knew he wanted to create the light bulb or a source of light. So when he found all these different things that weren't working, those might have been other things that he gave away. He did give away those experiments and those experiment details to other people. But when he didn't make the light bulb, he knew that he had to keep it moving. I love that. That's a big deal, man. He said, I know 10,000 ways not to make it. And he goes, I have not failed. He goes, I'm still in experimentation. Your life is still in experimentation. Keep it moving. Second quote, when you have exhausted all possibilities, remember this, you haven't. Ladies and gentlemen, you think you've done everything you're supposed to do. You think everything is exactly the way it's supposed to be. You think, oh, I can't do anymore. That's all I've done. This is as much money as I'm supposed to make. This is as good as my life is going to get. My kids are only going to be this good. My cars are going to be this good. Ladies and gentlemen, if you think you've resulted to all, you haven't even started yet. That just means you've made the experiment of 999,999 times, and you still have more experiments to do. But if you quit right now because you think you've done everything, that means you've done everything in your mind. See, Edison did everything he could in his mind first. I guarantee you, if you look at Edison's research, the beginning of his experimentation was what he knew to be true in his life through what he has learned up to this point. Now, the next set of things are going to piggyback off the results that he got when he didn't know, on what he knew. And as he continued to grow and get closer to that 10,000 mark, he kept gaining knowledge. So ladies and gentlemen, when you are in your life saying, I've exhausted all possibilities, and you put down the pen, the microphone, and say, I'm done because I can't do anymore, I've done it all, what you've done is you've stopped yourself because you have not. You've done everything in your mind that you've known. Because you may have heard it on TV. Your parents might have told you to go to college. You might have worked this job and that's all you've ever seen. Or you might have only gone this way because that's all you ever known to be true. But ladies and gentlemen, that is not true, because there are too many people in the world successful because of things they have done based on the fact that they've gotten outside of themselves. That's why, ladies and gentlemen, we live in a world right now where information is free. You can go out and grab it. You need to go out and research what you don't understand if you want to move to the next level. You've exhausted all your... See, this thing would be a little bit different. Maybe this will make more sense. I'm going to read this a little bit different, put a little DeMarcus twist on it. When you have exhausted all your possibilities, remember you haven't. When you've exhausted all of your possibilities, remember, there's still more to go. When all the things that you know to be true have not worked out for you, just understand that there's things that you haven't even got a clue about yet. But you've got to build, as a scientist, you've got to do your experimentation to get to your next level. You're down here complaining. Imagine if Edison was down here complaining, oh man, everything I did didn't work. Man, I did it 100 times. Oh my gosh. And it's that 10,000 mark. He's down here. But it's that 10,000 mark where he makes it. But he can't get here. Shoot, he can't even get right here without learning some things different about what he was trying to do. He's still down here. He can't even get here, ladies and gentlemen. So you've got to get in there and experiment with your life and change things. Change the variables of your life. That way, when it comes down to experimentation, you can learn something what you've done. You don't like your marriage, that's fine. Experiment differently. Find out a way to interact with your wife, your husband differently, your girlfriend, your boyfriend differently. And I'm not saying leave. I'm saying react differently, interact differently, treat them with a different type of respect. And the reason for that is because it's going to change the variables. Yeah, your husband and you were fighting, but that's because you guys had the same variable. Why don't you try coming at it a different way? Move to the side a little bit. Get your ego out of the way. How different would it have been if Edison was like, man, I'm the greatest scientist in the world, man. I'm going to figure this out. I know how to make this. Yeah. And he did it 100 times. Like, man, whatever. It just doesn't work. Ego would have destroyed it all, and we'd be sitting in darkness right now. But that's not the case. That man kept on going because his ego didn't get in the way. His goals were bigger than his ego. Let me say it again. I hope some of y'all still here. His goals and his dreams were bigger than his ego. So he didn't let the fact that his ego didn't see the answer yet, because it wasn't about him. It was about something bigger than him. He had to go for his goals past his ego. When you let go of your ego and you blast past that, there's a power to that. Not only that, you will find what you're looking for, but you must continue and persist. Last Edison quote here. That's the same one. Just remember, ladies and gentlemen, when you've exhausted all your possibilities. Oh, that's so big. Woo! Woo! All right, so many of life's failures are people who did not realize how close they came to success when they gave up. Ladies and gentlemen, you're very close to success, possibly. You've been doing something for a while, but you're willing to give up and believe it's not yours and not true, and not understanding that you just have to keep going. It's the success that lies on the other side that's a big deal, ladies and gentlemen, but you're not willing to step forward and understand that your success is possible. It just may be one of those things that you can't get to right now, because the person that you are right now is not ready for it, ladies and gentlemen. You don't give a child a gun. You don't give a child a gun and expect them not to use it or hurt themselves or something worse, because it's not for them yet. So you're up here wondering, and this is why I'm using the example, because as a child, proverbial child, you're not there yet to understand what is actually to be yours. You have to get there. Edison was a proverbial child when he started his experiments and only experimenting with what he knew to be true in his mind. But yet it took him growing and maturing to get to the level where he started to understand I need to add and subtract in different amounts and everything else to get to the light bulb. Just like a child, as they get older, that's why people have guns now, because as they get to a certain age, there's a responsibility and a level of understanding that you can get and you will not get as a child. So ladies and gentlemen, you're close, but you can't give up. You can't let it stop for you. You must continue to move forward. You must be willing to take the sacrifice and mature and grow, because there's a maturity that must happen before your next step happens. Okay? And last but not least, the last quote, ladies and gentlemen, is all life is an experiment. The more experiments you make, the better. That's Mr. Emerson himself. The more experiments you make, ladies and gentlemen, what they're saying is if all life is an experiment, every single thing you're doing in life is an experiment to get you and yield your results. Change the results. Sorry, change change what's going on in your life, and the experiment will change what's in your life. But most people aren't willing to change that because they're comfortable. Get out of that comfort zone. Change something. Do something. Be a better version of yourself, and watch how far you actually go. And remember, I believe and I love in each and every single one of you. Ladies and gentlemen, get out there and experiment with your life and try a different route to work and see what happens. You might find the love of your life is on the side of the road, been waiting for you the whole time. This car broke down for like 18, 35, 16, 18, 20, 35, 100 years. Been waiting right there for you. But they had to take a different route too for you to emerge, ladies and gentlemen. You can't end up going in the same place and understanding why your life is not changing. You got to start changing it. You got to put together the energy and go forth to change something. It's the experimentation in life that makes it worthwhile to get something different, to get a different experiment. Imagine if you never traveled to Ireland, right? You don't go to Ireland. You don't see how green it is. I've been there. I was like, oh my gosh. I took photos. I was like, this doesn't do it any justice, right? But if I don't change my life to want to accept or have a different experiment to get to Ireland, then I don't get to have that experience of Ireland. So I need you to step up and experiment differently, have a different chance to see a different side of life and a different side of your life and a different side of this world. There's some beautiful things out there, and you have a lot to give, and it's inside of you, but you can't get to it because of the fact that you want to experiment with yourself to change your life. Yeah, it's going to be scary. It's going to be a possibility you're going to fail. But you might fail what? Nope, not that one. Let's see, hold on. Nope, not that one. You might fail 10,000 times, and it's okay, because sometimes it takes 10,000 times to realize what value you have, and you'll find what you're looking for, but you just got to be willing to do it, ladies and gentlemen. Don't let one experiment stop you. One experiment will prove you wrong, but you continue experimenting and the world changes. And I'll talk to you soon. Have a great day, and I'll see you tomorrow.